Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hello, Rachel. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. So I'm Rachel Vincitore, admin at Atlantic University, and I'm sitting here with Atlantic University faculty member Lisa Heuvel. Lisa came on, how many years ago did you start here? Three?
I started, yes, 3 years ago. I'm going into my fourth year.
Oh, wow. So Lisa's been with us for 3 years and she teaches in the mindful leadership department. So she has developed classes, updated classes, and added a wealth of knowledge to our school, our faculty, has taught many, many students. You just did a great culminating project with a student,
Yes.
which was absolutely fantastic. So Lisa sees our students from beginning to end and wherever they are in the middle. So it's really nice to have you sit here, just kind of a one-on-one with me so we can chat for a little bit.
For
So
sure.
thank you. So I want to start by asking kind of a basic question I like to ask all of the faculty. Tell me about your teaching style and your teaching philosophy.
Sure. My teaching style continues to evolve because I truly believe in the principle of the lifelong learner, which we have at Atlantic in spades. We have loads of people who come in from all aspects of life, from all professions. And my goal is to meet them where they are, is to meet everyone from the starting point of their objectives and their experience. I believe, and I guess you'll gather this from what I'm saying, in a form of organic teaching and learning. I don't come in with a completely structured program, with a completely structured curriculum that is not adaptable to my cohort of students who are entering into the class with me. I believe that we teach each other. I believe that they have just as much to share with one another and with me, and I have seen this over and over again, how enriching it is when through the resources that we use in Atlantic for online learning, that we're able to share the depth of our experience and insights with one another. I'm there as a guide on the side. I'm there to support my students and to give them any help that I can give them, but I enjoy learning from them as well.
I really like that you say organic and adaptable. That's something that I use when I teach too, that I think of my classroom as this like beautiful holistic organism that we just kind of float through the ethers. And while we have a topic and a direction, we have to still go where the student is. You know, we still have to meet them where they are. So I know you teach on the ground face to face and you teach online. Tell me how that on the ground has changed, how you've had to adapt that philosophy in your teaching style during this pandemic.
Sure. Well, I have an added advantage in that I'm also a consultant when it comes to teacher professional development. So I've been working this summer with teachers from across the nation through a National Endowment for the Humanities project. And it's been an opportunity for me at the grade 1 through grade 12 level to get a finger on the pulse of where teachers are right now. And that is so critical. We have diverse learning communities across the nation that have been made even more diverse by COVID-19. And so I'm inspired by the degree of innovation that I'm seeing both informally with people and also in the professional learning networks that I'm part of. It's so important to grab hold of anything you can at this point that will help students. And I have no reservations at all of just adapting and saying, thank you very much for sharing with me. That has helped me to pursue, I think, with greater confidence, some of the concepts that I'm using now that are starting to play out, one of which is the flipped classroom.
Oh, yeah.
So what that means for anyone who doesn't know,
thank you. I was going to ask you, describe that to us.
Is that the preparation, what would normally be done in the classroom of transmitting information, is bookended at the beginning by students preparing in advance to come into the classroom ready to discuss, to where you go through the material, but you go through it at a higher level by applying what they have been reading. So it's dependent upon the students being willing to do the work in advance and not sit back and wait for you to spoon feed them, which none of mine ever have, happily, to go ahead and apply the theories. Let's dig in. Let's get real
Yeah.
and look at how all of this fits together and what it means, and do it interactively with each other. And so in a flipped classroom, you may have a very short, like a mini lecture of some kind. What I do is I actually use what I call my class plan or roadmap. I put this up so the students can see it, it's projected. And then they can see step by step what we're going to do next. And that moves from being maybe a mini lecture to an activity to a piece of video that I want to share with them to something that they do within a group movement together.
Yeah.
And it's worked out very well.
Don't you?
There's a lot of engagement.
I was going to say they're engaged because they know what's happening next. They're part of that process. And I think that's really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So before we started recording, you and I were talking a little bit about gaming in education.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit, kind of what you're doing and what that means for education?
Sure. I'm an associate professor and on the adjunct faculty at Christopher Newport University in leadership, which you might expect.
Yes.
And I've spent 3 years with a co-researcher looking at the value of interactive gaming as an educational tool to help students to learn to apply principles, to help them learn group dynamics. It's been excellent for that. And to get them away through the semester to progress in their skill levels. When you do what I'd call a one-off, which is a one-time activity in team development, it's nice and maybe people report back and something out of it, but it's always bothered me that I could not see students build on what they were learning from that experience through some kind of shared common ground. And in my case, working in Minecraft, every year we've been able to ratchet it up, draw on what the students have contributed each year to the point now where we're getting ready to start work on a virtual campus in Minecraft. This is something that if you Google it, we were just talking about that too, you will find that universities and student groups, especially now with COVID-19, have turned to this in some cases as a sort of connection. In some cases, it's been used as a virtual graduation site.
Yep.
And so it's just one possibility. My students usually raise their eyebrows because they played Minecraft when they were middle school students. But then they see when you apply it to theories, like the theories of group development, the group formation stages.
Right, yes.
They start to see, oh, okay, I see how this works. And we can all talk together because we have a shared experience.
Right, because the Minecraft is just the medium, the vessel for
Exactly.
leadership. So a lot of people think that learning theories kind of end K through 12. You don't bring these theories into higher education, especially into graduate school. And the research I'm doing is debunking that no matter what, a student is a student. You need to bring these theories, while maybe evolved, elevated, grown, you bring those theories of K through 12 all the way through the end of someone's learning and probably even beyond. What's something beyond gaming that you have seen really works from that K-12, because I know you worked in schools too, that K-12 world into higher education? I know I put you on the spot.
I think it would be immediate application.
Yeah.
I think when you bring in a concept and you're talking about it, if you can stop then and check for comprehension in some way, it can even be through questioning. And what I say to my students over and over again is there's no wrong answer. We will build on what we're putting together here because we're co-producers of knowledge in this classroom. We're a learning environment. And this isn't just limited to the in-person experience. And frankly, Rachel, you and I know right now it can't be, because at any moment you have to pivot and go online. That's where we are.
And the world is going to stay online. We're not going backwards.
That's right. So I think this idea of continually reaching out and testing in a very informal way for comprehension, doing checks periodically and saying, are you getting this? Does this make sense? How do you relate it to your own life? It's a way to make sure that we're not just going one way in our teaching methods.
Sure. And you have to assess. And that's something I learned. There's something called the TABA method. And it's really about understanding what the student needs and then either formally or informally evaluating that, assessing them throughout the process. because without an assessment, you can't adjust.
Right.
You know, it's not what I want as an instructor, it's what the student needs. And I think you're so right in that periodic assessment of the student to really feel out the system, to feel out how they're learning.
It's more important now than ever before to make sure that people understand the basic concepts that you're trying to get across. I am working with the essence now of what the content is and making sure that students, I would rather they walk out the door and have the fundamental principles down with confidence to be able to apply them in their lives and in their work than to cover the waterfront with every book and article I can throw at them. There is, especially now, people don't need that. We have enough.
So you teach, like we said, on the ground at Christopher Newport. And online hasn't changed much since the pandemic, but what's something you do to really engage that online student?
Okay. I think more and more I'm turning to the idea of connecting with them, of staying in touch, of using meetings like this on Zoom to be able to check in with people and just see where they're at for each student, making sure that they know that they're important to me and that we're all important to each other. We're going to go through this together and come out of it on the other side. And in this particular year, I've been thrilled that my last class, my students just want to keep on getting together. And so we just periodically set up Zoom meetings to touch base with each other. And I find that so rewarding because we don't just touch on personal lives. We go back to the class and say, how's it working for you? What are you taking out of what you had last semester?
Because it can get lonely when you're online and you're reading articles all by yourself at home on your computer. This interaction is so valuable, not just for learning, but also personal.
Yeah, and I would want anybody who's thinking about Atlantic to understand how fundamental that is to our principles here, because we look at the whole person.
We look at the whole person, don't we?
Yes.
And it's not just about cognitive growth, which we do want you to grow in your learning, but we want you to grow spiritually, emotionally, you know, all the growth possible. So tell me, what is your greatest benefit? What have you learned from teaching at AU?
Academic freedom has always been important to professors. It's what they value most highly. We still see that around us, that professors want to be able to teach the way they think they should teach. And I value that I can teach in a university where my values can be expressed.
Absolutely.
It is critical to me that I teach with ethical standards wherever I teach. And in a state university, there are certain aspects of that preclude my being able to explore with students their spiritual development, their belief system.
Sure.
It's not appropriate in that environment. But it is deeply, deeply embedded in Atlantic University that we do value and look at each other as human beings, not just as students, not just as faculty, but as human beings who are growing and evolving to our higher selves. There's a hint of this in leadership, no matter where you look at it academically, this idea of looking at transformation, of looking at authentic leadership. It's up there, but I don't see it as fully expressed and realized as it is at Atlantic, where we can talk about all aspects of life and know that people are coming from the transpersonal program and they're going to bring in transpersonal psychology, they're going to bring in new perspectives to the mindful leadership students and vice versa. And it's a very rich exchange.
Isn't that amazing that it's holistic? It's the entire person is touched on, so to speak. So before we close, I want to just give you a moment to kind of talk about the Mindful Leadership Program here at Atlantic University, what classes you teach, what you've developed. So you have a few moments to just touch on that. Sure.
Well, I have been teaching the Leading from the Inside Out course, which I highly recommend. I'm not teaching it right now, but I know it's in good hands, and it's an opportunity to reflect, because we truly do have to begin with ourselves in thinking about leadership before we even attempt to work with a group or work with other individuals. We have to know who we are, to stay centered and to be stable in the midst of anything that may come with challenges, and to express a vision. So there's that. I am getting ready to start working on listening and dialogue, which I think is going to be very much in keeping with everything we've talked about so far. And this past couple of semesters, I've been working with research methods, and I truly enjoy that. I love the opportunity to help students to gain the experience they need to do academic research, not to be scared off by it, to know that it's simply a process. It's a process that we use to determine how people have conducted research so that other people can follow it. We have to be able to leave a documentable trail of what we've done and what our thought processes are. And being able to help students structure that in a very personal way that is meaningful to them is something I enjoy. And I also enjoy working with students on their final projects too.
I know you do. That was the final project you did was amazing. Or the student did, and you coach and mentor that student all the way through. So Lisa, thank you so much for sitting and chatting with me on this beautiful morning. I really appreciate having you here at the university. And Lisa did allude ever so slightly that she is on sabbatical from us for a little bit, but she'll be back soon teaching and getting courses ready again. So I look forward to having you back.
Thank you, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.